Welcome back, everybody, to the Too High McFly movie podcast. My name is Kevin Lyons.
Daniel de Sangre.
Jose Ramos.
And this...
Menacing. He said it in a very menacing snarl.
He is a very menacing man. This week is kind of a crazy week for fans. We have Avengers Endgame, and we have that big climax of Game of Thrones tonight. There's a big, huge battle. And something that is kind of going under the radar is Cobra Kai Season 2 opened up this week. And it's kind of the underdog. A show that's about underdogs has been the underdog this week. Mm-hmm. And we kind of wanted to give it its due recognition because we all binged the Season 2, and we thought it was fantastic. So we're just going to do a quick non-spoiler overview of what we thought, and then we're going to hit the music, and then after that is going to be all spoilers. So if you haven't seen Cobra Kai Season 2 yet, after the music, put it on pause, and then come back and join us. So guys, Cobra Kai Season 2, what'd you think?
Dude, it was really good, man. I liked it a lot.
What do you guys think makes Cobra Kai like a great series?
You know what? Because they don't take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
I feel like they allow their characters to have fun. You know, they're playing in the world that they set up in the movies. And then it's, you know, they do like a good throwback to like karate stuff. Like we don't get that a lot for American stuff.
Yeah, and I think also what it does is it's growing from the original content, but still giving us enough of what made the original what it was, what made you love the original.
It really does capture the essence of the 80s. I mean, even all their music is all 80s that they're using it, and it takes place now. And there's a lot of 80s montages and, of course, throwbacks to the original. But something that's cool is that they really are letting these characters grow. I mean, it makes sense that they do a Cobra Kai now, to see where Johnny's at, just to see, you know, how history kind of repeats itself with different themes and, you know, father teaching the son type of thing going on here.
Dude, it's a total classic anti-hero.
Yeah.
You know, it's like Deadpool, it's Wolverine. Like, that's what we're drawn to. It's so much funner than to get the squeaky clean, you know, Superman superhero.
Yeah.
And I think one thing this show has done right overall throughout both seasons is that it captures that gray area.
Yeah.
It isn't just black and white.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I didn't even think about it. They kind of mentioned that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little of the theme of it, right? Where they say, you know, about no mercy and no honor.
Yeah. But yeah, man, it was just how many episodes was it? It was 10
10.
episodes,
Yep.
and they flew by quick. I mean, this is an easy burn. You could finish the entire season in one day in just a span of a couple of hours.
3 hours.
Yeah,
you're done.
if you got 3 hours, now, if you have enough time to watch Endgame, you can watch the entire season 2 of Cobra Kai.
It's like the episodes were short enough that I was watching them during my break at work. I'm like, all right, I'll knock off an episode, then go back to work.
Yeah, exactly.
I ended up staying up till like 3 o'clock in the morning watching it, and I didn't even know it was 3 o'clock in the morning because like the episodes just play on rotation, and I was just getting so into it. I mean, this series sucks you in. It always starts off a little bit like, okay, this is okay, and then usually about mid-season is when everything has been established, and then boom, they start
Roundhouse kick to the face.
Yeah. It was really good. Is there any other quick non-spoiler stuff you guys want to get to about season 2?
I will say I really like, you know, at the end of season 1, you don't know what they're going to do with the Miguel character, right? They set up this hero that starts to look like a villain.
Yeah.
And I thought season 2, they did such a good job of showing that tackling forces between both of his senseis that it was just really cool to watch. They did a really good job. The writing was really good in this show.
Yeah, and the thing with this, so season 1, both of these came with a little uncertainty to me. Okay. So season 1, when it was announced, I'm like, what are they going to do with it? I'll check it out. Boom, surprised me. I was like, that was actually really good.
Karate chop to the throat.
Then season 2 was like, okay, so the first one, a lot of it was a surprise of it.
Yeah.
It was good, but there was a surprise of it. I'm like, can season 2 live up to it? Can they continue this? Again, they superseded my expectations.
I knew that it was going to be really good, especially after the first trailer, because it's YouTube, you know, YouTube Red. It's a new streaming service. It's a little bit smaller than like a regular studio, even though YouTube is huge, but it feels like they're a lot more willing to let the artists do what they want. And they had the main players of Karate Kid, and they could swear and they can do whatever they want. They don't have to worry about offending people that much. And the way that they set up love triangles in the first season and then watching it play out in season 2 is really good, because you have Johnny, right? He was what you would call like the villain of the first movie, even though he wasn't really. But we're seeing it through his eyes, and he's kind of like a burnout loser. He swears, he drinks, and it's very like kind of raunchy. And then when we go see the Daniel side of the story, it's always more like family friendly kind of comedy, and just seeing those two worlds like mashed together is just really fun, especially if you grew up in the 80s and watching Karate Kid.
Yeah, and then even in the second season, they expand on that, right?
Yeah.
So you even have Johnny who's now trying to fight for something, whereas he hasn't before, right? He looked like like you said, he was a burnout, didn't care about anything. Now he has his, dojo that he's building, and he's fighting for it,
Yeah.
And then you have Daniel who's hitting his rough struggles and starts turning. He does some non-Mr. Miyagi things a little bit.
A lot more in the first season than
Yeah.
he does in the second season. The second season, he's starting to find his balance,
Yeah.
if you will. But I would say my only real complaint for this series is basically I wanted more asshole Johnny.
Yes, mine too.
That
I
was
agree.
because when he was first starting to realize what he wants to do,
Yeah.
it was funny. It was almost like Bad Santa.
Yeah.
Seeing him deal with the kids. But now in this season, you can see him mature quite a lot, and he's dealing with a lot more drama stuff. But he does have a lot of really funny moments.
He does, and that's my thing. Real quick, is just that's my fears. They take themselves too seriously,
Yeah.
and they kind of lose a little bit of that.
Yeah.
That whole Bad Santa thing. I don't want them to take themselves too seriously with this.
But they did have he did have a lot of those awesome moments in this season.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, my one complaint I would say about this season, I guess it's been the series in general, but I didn't mind it as much in the first season. But once you get to the second season, it's the miscommunication issue. Everything's going cool. Oh, miscommunication or misunderstanding. We're at odds again. And it's not just with the main characters, but it's happening with other characters. And it was being done a lot. So after a while, it's like, okay, let's try something new. It's not like that won't they, will they trope that they use in shows with the two lovers.
Yeah.
And when it goes on and on and on after 4 or 5 seasons, it gets a little old.
Yeah.
So that was my one complaint with this one is they're starting to overuse that trope.
Yeah. Now, I did hear about a complaint that some people were talking about where, in season 1, the kids were still learning karate, right? And you could see that struggles. Season 2, it takes place almost immediately after. And the kids are substantially better at karate now, where they're doing backflips, jumping off stuff. I can understand their complaint. It didn't really bother me that much because I believe if Cobra Kai does it where they only do like maybe 3 seasons, maybe 4 seasons,
They can't be
tops,
learning how to fight the whole time. They need to
get there faster.
Yeah,
but it needs to be a short show.
Oh, and speaking of that, hold your thought. One thing, just remember it. That was something that really surprised me is how better all the fighting was in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good. It was like superhero level fucking
Yeah,
fighting,
it was.
and a lot of that had to do with obviously the choreography, but the editing too. They did a lot of the quick over the shoulder cuts, and it felt like the editing and the fight scenes just flowed so much more in this season. What were you gonna say, Jose?
Actually, I have an explanation for that complaint, but I can't get into it until we get into spoilers.
Speaking of which, I think we've exhausted this
Yes.
non-spoiler part of this season 2. Would you guys want to just jump in the spoilers?
Let's get into spoilers.
Let's karate chop it.
Punch it. Okay, everybody, we've reached the spoiler part of our review. If you have not seen Cobra Kai Season 2, put this on pause, come back and join us after you watch it. So yeah, guys, Season 2 opens up right where Season 1 left off with Johnny and Cobra Kai. All of a sudden, Kreese comes walking in. And it's so funny, too, because it was such dramatic lighting of Kreese just standing in the shadows. I thought that Kreese set up all the lighting in there before Johnny got back. He was like, I'll look much more menacing in this corner.
And even his cigar was like perfectly lit when he walked in.
Yeah.
This is where the moonlight hits.
Yes.
It was cool because they wasted no time getting right into the action, because then him and Johnny ended up fighting in there. And this was the only time in the whole season I thought the fighting was a little weird, because Kreese is old.
Yeah.
And they tried their best to give him choreography, but some of it was like kind of slow.
You know what it was? It was reminding me a little bit of Steven Seagal.
That's
movie.
exactly what I was thinking of. That's exactly it.
Under Siege. Kreese
Yeah.
Under Siege.
Look over there. there, and they snap a neck. It's like, oh.
I mean, because the guy's still like relatively young. I could see him do some of those moves, but it was so obvious when they had the stunt double when Johnny was throwing him over his back. It was so obvious, but it was cool, and it ended up like the cigar flying over in the trash, and it ends up lighting on fire, and they're both like passed out on the mats. But before that, because they had broken one of the mirrors, and then Johnny finally got him into that headlock, and he was looking at the shards of glass on the ground, and he could see his reflection holding him there, and it was kind of like
showed him mercy.
Yeah, because it was a flashback to when that he was in that same situation as Sensei had him, and he didn't want to be like that, you know. And
You know what is ironic is that's what, you know, since we're doing spoilers, that's exactly what happens at the last episode.
What do you mean?
With Miguel.
Oh yeah,
Same thing. He has him in a position and goes with what Johnny does, and
yep.
we won't get into that yet.
No. But anyway, yeah, it was a nice opening. So I thought there was going to be like maybe a little bit more time off before this season started, but it started off right where the last one ended, and it seemed like it was pretty consistent. It was just taking place right after. So Jose, you have all the episodes written down. So why don't you go next?
The last little bit that happens related to the end of last season before they move on is actually the conversation between Johnny and Carmen, Miguel's mom, and this is the first time she expresses concern over Miguel's behavior, because if you remember in the last season he was a little ruthless with Robbie.
Yeah, he had that war face on, and she saw something she didn't like, and Johnny realized that too, and he was just like, you know what, I promise I'm not going to let your son go astray. It's not going to be like how it was back in the day. And that's when you kind of see Johnny just start to what's the word I'm looking for? He kind of redeems himself a little bit. That's what I meant to say. Yeah, he does that a little bit. So, what's up next?
Well, in this next part, and this is actually goes into the explanation of that complaint of why, if this takes place after all this time, they're better fighters. But we get a montage of Robbie healing the whole time, healing, training, the building of the dojo. So there was a
the Miyagi-Do.
There was a period of time that passed, which would have given time for the other fighters to get
true,
better.
but backflips are kind of
no, but true. But the whole montage, they were wearing the same clothes.
Yes,
so
I noticed
it was
that
just
too.
one afternoon of work of Robbie standing. All of a sudden, his arm gets out of the cast. He's like, "I'm okay," but he's wearing the same clothes.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
They should have changed up his wardrobe a little bit.
I know.
Yeah, the other change that happened here is that they get Samantha to join Miyagi-Do.
That was cool. She finally joined up. And it's so funny because he's just like, my first two students, and they're standing right there. It's like, you guys are going to be spending a lot of time here together this summer. And they look at each other. It's like, how does this dude not see that he wants to bang his daughter?
That's what I'm saying. Come on.
Mr. 90s here. This guy is the most 90s looking kid ever.
He's got hungry eyes, man.
His hair looks like Jodie Foster.
No.
like from the 90s. That's how weird Robbie looks.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, I don't know about that parenting strategy at all. The last big thing that happens in this episode, and it kind of touches what happened at the beginning, is that Kreese is able to convince Johnny to give him a second chance.
Yeah.
And that's where that episode ends, where he's like, okay, I'll take you in.
And that's a huge step in the Johnny character, right? Because it's caring about somebody and redemption.
Because Johnny was at the Home Depot and he bumps into Danny and his son Robbie there, and he kind of is awkward. He gives him a little chance. He's trying to talk to him, and he sees that he's not giving him really a second chance. He's like, I need some time, and then he's like, you gonna train with that prick? He's like, you're a better man than you could ever be, and so that's what kind of leads him to giving Kreese another chance.
Man, he's such. That actor is just not good.
Robbie?
I'm just not a fan.
I think he was really hired for his karate skills.
I think that's what it is. Because just even that scene, he's a better man than you ever will. I was like, man, that is bad. Like, that's what I see in, like, acting classes.
Yeah.
No.
We are highly aware of your disdain for this character.
Yes. Oh, man.
Well, then we get into episode 2 called Back in Black. And it starts off, we find out Robbie gets left home alone. His mom leaves to Mexico. And then in the LaRusso household, this is where we get the beginning of the issues between him and his wife. Because he's spending too much time with the
doing
dojo.
the karate stuff.
Yeah, ignoring like the job aspects of it. So these are the first hints of like, okay, there might be a problem here. But we get a parallel between Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do and their training tactics. Mm-hmm. So what we have in Miyagi-Do, they have the in sync balance training.
Yeah,
In the
that was actually really cool. That made a
Yeah.
lot of sense because
did.
it comes back later on in the season.
And then in Cobra Kai side, you got the cement truck.
That was so cool, man.
Yeah, that was really cool.
That screams evil, like bad boy.
It was was kind of bringing Johnny back to I'm going to be a
Yeah.
dick. But before that, I mean, just a real quick go back to when Johnny was talking to Miguel's mom and talking, I'm not going to let your son go astray. They automatically go back to the dojo, and all the Cobra Kai kids, you can kind of see them just like being kind of like dicks a little bit. They're on that edge, and then Johnny decides to punish them for what they did in the finale when he's just like, did you hit somebody when their back was turned? He's like, yeah. And did you do a cheap shot or whatnot? He's like, yeah. And so he punishes them, and he's like, this is the new Cobra Kai. I mean, you show no mercy, but sometimes you have to show some mercy. Still be badass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He also tells him another good line there is when he tells him he was like a cobra fights an enemy at full strength.
Yeah. He's like, do you want to be a cobra that takes down an injured monkey, or do you want to be a cobra that takes down a fierce lion?
Dude, that's so
You know what
dope,
I mean?
man. What a good
Analogy, right?
Yeah, it was.
It's like, I want that second cobra.
And
Yeah.
actually, at that moment is when they were kind of talking about that gray area that you mentioned earlier. Talking about not everything is black and white, because he was talking about on the wall, it was a white wall, and then strike first, no mercy was written in black. And he goes, look, these are just words, black and white, but not everything is black and white, you know? And that's when you start to see Johnny fucking mature. And it's just like, you're really on his side, you know? Because Kreese is starting to turn against him and start to kind of, you kind of feel that with Kreese. You don't really trust him, and he's just kind of he's just being a brown noser to gain Johnny's trust, and then so he can be left alone with the kids and kind of guide them astray.
And that's the thing. Kreese pulls the bad guy move.
Yeah.
Where he's basically telling him what he's going to do in front of his face.
Yeah.
Like he has quotes throughout where he was like, a snake pretends to retreat and then he strikes at the right moment. He's like, he's telling you what he's going to do to you.
Classic villain story.
He's fiending that he's weak. And
Dude,
that's how he convinced
good?
you.
How good is like he's been a huge surprise for me this season.
Oh,
Like he
yeah.
was such a good character.
He was
Like
really good.
The actor really did a good job with this.
I want to
man.
get that old picture of him that he hangs up in the dojo of himself in the army with a gun. I want that picture,
Dude,
man.
that's
That was so
good.
cool.
Man. And then you get a little bit behind the back, you know, when you see him go to the halfway home.
Oh yeah,
Dude, that was so like you see that and you see Johnny sitting there with them, and it's like, look at what this man's reduced to now.
it brings that sadness.
Yes,
to him.
and you get the moment like you can sympathize with Johnny why he brings him in.
Yeah.
And then when he dicks him over later, like the villain that he is.
But he also sees the level of his pathological lying
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
that moment.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
it was awesome.
The last big thing we get in that episode is Daniel, because of Sam, finds out and he goes to visit Robbie, sees that he's living alone, and then now he does parenting move number 2, which
Yeah.
he moves Robbie into the house.
Oh man, big
with
mistake.
Sam.
Letting the lion in with your
Oh,
gazelles.
man. I mean, because Robbie isn't a bad kid. I mean, they introduced him in the first season.
No,
as
he's just a bad
kid.
actor.
Yeah, he's just a bad actor, and that was one of the things I didn't really like. Is just like he was introduced as such a scumbag kid, and then it's just the
Immediately
flip of
not.
flip of
Yep.
the switch. He's just a good guy now, and he is a good guy. But you can see him like he's got his problems. He didn't have the best upbringing and stuff, but he is a bad actor.
Yeah, which means he should have been a little rougher. I think it just would have made his character a little more fleshed out, a little more layered. Mm-hmm. You know, they could have done more things with it, but then that would require better acting, which they seem to avoid.
Yeah.
Hey, but he can kick me, really well though.
That is true.
He's a really good kicker.
He's a really good kicker.
And it was really fun seeing him and Sam work together, finding their balance on that balancing thing on the pond and figuring out how to work together like fucking Jedi, sensing
Yeah,
the other person's
exactly.
movement and
Yeah.
just moving in sync. And something else that was really cool is like this season did pick a side really good. Like especially the kids in the school. Are you going to be a Cobra Kai or are you going to be a Miyagi-Do? Because the way that Daniel is trying to battle Cobra Kai is, you know what? I'm going to teach you how to be a good karate person, but I'm going to give you these lessons for free. And that's how he's going to try and get kids to stop going to Cobra Kai, and offering free lessons.
Which is what we got into in the next episode. It starts off with the ad where he's announcing.
Yeah, he's announcing it.
Dude,
on
but
YouTube.
really, that is a
Over.
dick move.
Yeah.
Like that's a dick move,
It is,
man. Like
'cause
that's
he-
all Johnny has.
Because
to
he
live
took
off
his
of.
shots too. He was
Yeah.
like, "Don't be a snake in the grass."
Yeah, it's like, man. So Daniel, again, you're seeing a little bit of that villainy coming out a little
Oh, but
bit.
you know what's funny is how we saw that is like he was trying to finally getting a computer for the first time. Johnny gets a computer from the
Hot
pawn shop
babes.
guy, and he's just like, "Yo, man, this computer doesn't work. It doesn't turn on." It's like, "You press the power button? Hell yeah!" And he's just tapping something on the side, and the guy just opens up the computer, presses the power button, it turns on. He goes, "Oh, thanks."
And he calls him later. He's like, dude, call the Geek Suite. Like,
Where's
I'm
the
a pawn
internet?
shop.
yeah.
Where's the internet? Where's the internet on this thing? Are you connected to your Wi-Fi? What the fuck is Wi-Fi? You know? And then finally he gets it all figured out, and then you just see why you need the internet. You just want to look at hot babes.
That's the very first thing he looks at. He didn't even hesitate. Just HOT, babe.
It was just-
Hot babes and cheesy martial arts movies.
Yeah,
it was
man,
just
that's
fun
funny.
watching him discover the internet. Johnny was kind of catching up on technology this season, where he was just like, he didn't know what anything was last season. He was still stuck in the 80s. And then he comes across the Miyagi-Do commercial. And these guys have just been it's always just been back and forth in the first season, and they were doing that a lot this season. I think that's another little bit of a complaint I had. There's just always just like, it's always one thing's getting set up where they hate each other, and then they kind of forgive each other, and then they hate each other, and then they kind of forget. There's a lot of that going back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, and in this episode, this is one where Johnny was getting the upper hand. So he had that ad, and then Johnny had his ad.
Oh,
which
yeah.
was received better, had more hits and everything.
And
And
he's straight up cussing.
Yeah.
Man. He's cussing to recruit children.
Oh yeah, he did. He did. That was so.
Don't be a pussy. So you can't say that on a commercial.
it's sold. It's sold.
Yeah.
That was so funny. And then he just looks at AJ. He's like, "Can you just like put a Cobra Kai symbol in there? Like just make it look chrome."
Oh, and
right?"
the music.
Yeah,
He's like,
music.
she's like, I don't think we have the rights for that.
yeah. Oh, what song did he say to try to get? He said something. It was some classic
Yeah.
rock '80s song, and then he's like, she's like, "We can't afford the rights to that." He's like, "We don't need to buy it. I got the cassette in my car."
And then, Daniel responds with a performance at the festival, which then Johnny comes and again overshadows the performance with making it a rock concert, basically.
Yeah.
And I love how Kreese is like, more lasers.
Yeah.
He's like the emperor, more lasers. So, man, he was so good. Because that's classic Kreese, man. Like, make the whole thing a theatrical, make it fun, make it over the top. Like,
Yeah.
that's the way he had Cobra Kai before, and it was funny to see a little bit of that.
And after that, I mean, you saw the result of them doing that, because Daniel is trying to get everybody to join Miyagi-Do out of like just doing the right thing. So you kind of see him change from season 1, where he's not trying to like attack Johnny. He's just like, you know what? Let's just show people the right way, and it's okay to make mistakes, and just play the defense. That's what Miyagi-Do is about. It's about defense and not starting fights. And then after the Cobra Kai crashed their performance, everybody's talking about Cobra Kai, and John and Danny's kind of taking the back seat from everybody's like, "Oh man, I want my kid to join Cobra Kai." It's like, why? It's just because I want them to kick and do fun stuff. And he's just kind of like feeling a little bit of despair that the right way isn't working, and he doesn't know what to do.
Well, it's like they're both kind of selling different ideologies, right? Because
Yeah.
Daniel's like, it's defense, it's a way of life, right?
Yeah.
Almost like Buddhism, like, be one with peace and with people. And with Johnny, it's like, no, man, I'm gonna make you a badass and get chicks. Like,
Yeah.
that's what karate's gonna do for you.
Kick-ass.
Kick ass. You're gonna be a badass walking on the street. Like, it's so different. Of course, kids, that's what they want to do. Parents, it's like, I want to see them doing a performance. I don't want to see them just coming home and being very spiritual and meditating. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
It's just not as fun for a parent.
And even like with the whole competition of that episode, there was one really good moment in there that ends up playing later on. And this is, so Miguel finds out that Robbie is Johnny's son here.
Yeah,
And he-
that's right.
And he confronts him, and at first Johnny acts all tough with him and Hawk and sends him away. But then he takes Miguel out for food.
Yeah, that was
And then
right
he-
across the street from the hospital where his son was born. And he goes in
Yeah.
that whole big story. That was
Exactly,
fucking cool.
explains how he was an absentee dad, and then he ends that conversation with telling him like, "I'm always gonna do right by you."
Yeah. That was deep, man. That was really emotional. You could tell he's seeing Miguel as like the son, like a second chance. Again, redemption story. He's getting a second chance at, kind of cleaning his act up and getting himself together.
And I think we're about like mid-season through right now. Were you gonna say that?
Yeah, right now we're about episode 4. The few things that happen here is one, we had Kreese beat up Dimitri,
Yeah.
Hawk's
was
friend.
funny, yeah.
So he gets out of there bloody, and this was also the introduction of Tori.
Oh, yeah, the
she
new
was
Cobra
good.
Kai.
Yeah, the new Cobra Kai
was good.
character. She gets introduced doing a showcase with Miguel, where she shows she can defend herself. She still loses, but she shows some of that
She
ferocity.
can fight, yeah. And she was a really cool character to bring in, and it was really interesting to see how that played out towards the end of the
Dude,
season.
it gave Sam like a good villain. Like it gave Sam an opportunity to be a deeper character because she had this villain to square off with in
Yeah,
this fight.
that's right,
You
'cause
know,
she was
you need
like-
a conflict. You know
Yeah.
what I mean, it's
And
Be-
that-
because of what else she was representing, she was trying to get Miguel to forget about Sam.
Yeah.
It's just like, why? You're young. It's like the best way to get over her is to get over her. Go out and have fun. Let's go out and have fun. And they have fun. And they kind of fall for each other. You know what I mean? And it's like good for him.
And this all comes to a head at first during the whole beach party. Not really a beach party, but the club, the beach club scene. Mm-hmm. So here you have the situation with her and Sam.
Yeah.
Where Sam accuses her of stealing because she stole alcohol.
Yeah.
So accuses her of stealing the mom's wallet. So then they head off there. But then we also get Robbie meeting his old friends that like to steal.
His
was
old
so
criminal
cheesy.
buddies pulling.
it was like an after school
robberies.
special, man.
Oh my god! And first of all, the pairing of these two, that black kid and that like that white guy was like easily in his 30s, long hair. It's like, come on, man! I just don't see why these two would be hanging out because they're two totally different personalities,
Yeah.
but yet like they're typical bad guys of the 80s. That's what was so funny.
Even
about
with the
it.
music playing when
Yeah.
they jump in the sea, and it's like
The best part about that scene is because we see another shift in Daniel, because Daniel comes, rescues him, beats up the guys. Robbie gets the whole thing on video, and this is what he's been looking for. We're showing that it can be used for defense. We'll get all these people in. And Daniel tells him, no, that's not how I want to do it.
Yeah.
Don't post the video.
Yeah, exactly. And that shows a lot about Daniel's character, you know, because he has the complete opportunity to get kids to come over to his dojo, but at the same time that, you know, that cancels out the whole purpose of what he's trying to do with Miyagi-Do. And it's just, man, this season was all over the place.
it
with
is
just like themes.
It was funny though to see Daniel now as like this middle-aged, you know, in his age right now doing the karate because he's such an oddly shaped person to begin with. You know, he's really tall, long, and like
Yeah,
you know,
he
angular.
even though he's doing karate, he just does not look in shape.
no, not at all.
And that was the
man.
only thing I really found
Yeah.
unbelievable about the whole Cobra Kai series is
Yeah.
that Johnny is a drunken burnout, drinking beer,
Yeah.
getting drunk every day, but he's still looking in diesel shape. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. And I just think, you know, with the show, we acknowledged everything that's positive about it, but to be a true, you know, critic, you also have to point out why it's not a 10, right? We have to mention these things that are,
Well, this was a 10 for me. But something else we forgot to mention is in the season, we're starting to see Hawk really become like the villain of Cobra Kai.
It's like
That's
you read my
interesting.
mind.
Yeah,
that was
man.
the next thing.
Yeah, he's becoming the villain of Cobra Kai, and the new recruits, he's kind of trying to make them bad, and he's just kind of being an asshole. And then there's the mall fight.
Yeah,
and this is where we're gonna get into right now. This is episode 5. What was the title of this episode?
All in.
All in. You guys have to watch this episode.
because at that point, if you made it that far in the show, you're all in. Because the rest of it's great.
Because they did just like the whole flow and feeling of this episode was cool because you see the Miyagi-Do kids with Dimitri. He's now a part of Miyagi-Do. After Kreese beat him up trying to join Cobra Kai, he decided to go to join Miyagi-Do, and he's still kind of like a wimp, you know. But he's just glad he has friends because he said all of my friends. The reason why I'm here because all my friends turned into my enemies, and they're all trying to beat
And
me
they
up.
turn into assholes.
Yeah, they turn into assholes. I just want friends. I don't care about karate. Go ahead.
One good thing about this episode, so it starts off where we get background on Hawk. So it starts off Hawk before the transformation.
Yeah.
Because you always have in the back of your mind, well, you know, Hawk was bullied and all of this stuff. So, you know, that's what's changed him and
Yeah.
caused him to be this aggressive. But then you see hints already within Hawk back when he was Eli.
Yeah.
Where he gets mad at his mom and he says, like, I just want to be popular. I want other friends besides Dimitri.
Yeah.
So he already had that mindset of wanting this.
Yeah.
So all it did was wake up what was already there in him.
And that's so important in creating a proper villain is you got to humanize them. You have to make us, the audience, understand why in their head that's the right decision.
You mentioned the mall.
Oh,
but what,
man,
but what led to the mall was Dimitri didn't like getting beat up by Kreese, and he put a scathing Yelp review, a 1-star Yelp review, which Hawk demanded he take down. When he refused, we go to the mall scene.
Yeah, the mall. He confronts Dimitri in the comic book shop, and it's kind of cool too because when he's in the food court with Robbie and Sam, and they're getting food. He's like, "Oh, I forgot this new comic book came out today. I'll be right back." He's like, "Don't throw away my chicken," and he goes running over to the comic book store and he's looking for the comic book, and that's when Hawk kind of steps in with his little lackeys and like, "Yo, man, take down the review." You know, it's like, "What are you gonna do? Are you gonna beat me up? Like, really? You're gonna beat me up for that? That guy beat me up, and you're gonna beat me up because I said that guy beat me up." You know, and he's just like, "No." And so he pushes him to the ground. He starts to fight, and Dimitri goes running off, and he goes running back to the food court, being chased by Cobra Kai. You know, Hawk and all of his bad guys. And he goes back to the food court, and he goes to the table, and he sees that Sam and Robbie were gone. He's like, "Oh my God, they left him, and they threw out his chicken." He asked specifically for them not to throw out his chicken.
I'm hoping
He's
they took it in
"No,
a to-go
man."
bag.
And so they finally surround him in the mall, and they're all about to beat him up, and then Robbie and Sam come bursting out like the fucking Avengers, dude. I shit you not. They're doing backflips, and they're balanced because they finally learned how to do that balance thing, and they're just kicking the shit out of all of Cobra Kai, jumping over each other, both moving in sync. It was like a fucking superhero action scene. And like we were like, "Holy shit, look at this, fucking awesome." And then at the end, like after they're all knocked down, Sam just goes, "Oh, we got your chicken wrapped up for you." And she hands it to him. It's like, "Oh, I fucking love these kids." Even though Robbie sucks as an actor, but I still it was really cool. That I just love that episode.
It was a great scene, but like Hawk being embarrassed there.
Yeah.
So not only did he not get his revenge for the Yelp review, but he got embarrassed, and this was the perfect time for Kreese to slip in.
Yeah.
And convinces him to take his posse and go trash Miyagi-Do.
Yeah, he's like, "The fight's not over till you say it's over." And so at night they went, Hawk and his lackeys, they went over to Miyagi-Do and they trashed it. And this is when you kind of feel awful because they took Miyagi's war medal, the Medal of Honor, and like, oh man, that sucks seeing that, especially Daniel. I mean, it just opens up on Daniel, like just like basically crying over the empty case of Miyagi's, you know,
Like
Medal
that's
of
what
Honor.
hurt more was the medal.
And he completely like loses. This is where he forgets his lessons, and he just gets in his car
Because it
rushes
was
over.
the car from the original Karate Kid that Miyagi
Yep.
left him, and what did they spray paint on the side of it?
Cobra Kai never dies.
Yeah.
Cobra Kai never dies.
Oh man, that sucked. And Johnny just goes marching into the Cobra Kai dojo with his shoes on and walks on the mat. He's like, "Yo man, what are you doing? That's disrespectful." It's like, "You want to talk about disrespecting a dojo? You fucking trashed mine." He didn't say fucking, but
He's like, "Who takes a Medal of Honor?" or something?
yeah. He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about, man." And because obviously Johnny didn't. He had no idea. I mean, he was punishing the kids for not fighting fair, and that's what he's trying to change about Cobra Kai in the season. And it was just like that was such a high tense scene. It's just like, what's gonna happen? You want Johnny to be like, "I have nothing to do with this. Who did it?" And like he should have just stopped everybody right there and be like, "Everybody, come over here, and nobody's leaving here until I find out who did this." He shouldn't have let Danny go.
Yeah, and there was a point, and then Danny steps up to him, and he's like, "I'm not gonna strike first."
Yeah.
And you could tell Johnny's about to do it, and then he remembered Carmen's words when he had a little pep talk with her, and she tells him,
Carmen being Miguel's mom.
Miguel's mom. Someone has to be the bigger man.
Yeah, the bigger
So
man.
he says, "I'm going to be the bigger man," and he doesn't strike.
Yeah.
Which then actually, that whole scene encourages some of the Cobra Kais to step out, and they leave and follow Daniel out of the Cobra Kai.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the new batch, the new recruits, and some of the ones who were there vandalizing Cobra Kai. I mean Miyagi-Do, and they end up joining up with Daniel. That was a cool, powerful scene, man. I really like that.
It was, and they needed to do the medal of. I'm like, you needed to make it something that deep. You know? That way it hit harder to the audience.
Yeah, bigger stakes and bigger
stakes,
like revenge, And then so now we're kind of with Johnny being mad at the dojo because he understands that some of the kids did something, and so he's having them do like burpees or whatever until they crack. He goes, none of you guys are gonna stop until you tell me who did this to Miyagi-Do. That is not what we do here, and that is not that. Maybe it was in the past, but we're not doing that anymore. And, you know.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he gets interrupted getting a call about his friend, Mr. Body Bag.
Yeah.
Mr. Body Bag.
So the rest of the episode pretty much focuses on
The original Cobra Kai.
his retreat with the original Cobra Kais, and then here and there jumping back and seeing Kreese seeing his opportunity.
Yeah.
And trying to make the kids more ruthless while he's gone.
It's really funny how they had like the older guys riding the motorcycles, reminded me like war dogs.
Yeah.
Right?
It was cool because just real quick, in the original Karate Kid, the kid is like, get him a body bag. Apparently he's dying of cancer and he's on his deathbed, and they granted him like a 24-hour release from the hospital. And so is the original Cobra Kai guys, and they're taking him on a trip up to Big Bear. They're all on the motorcycles, and it's cool that you see them all lined up on their motorcycles, and they put their motorcycle masks on, and it's the skeletons, like the Halloween costumes they had in the first one. And
Nice throwback.
Oh, and then seeing them drive off on the motorcycles, and it's going back and forth between that and when they did it on dirt bikes when they were growing up. That was it was just really cool. And then
Great editing.
then they go to a bar, and you kind of see the original Cobra Kai guys. They're one of them's a pastor. The other ones, I forget what the other one's doing, but they're all like good guys, and they're all kind of mad at what Cobra Kai was, and that's when they figured out that Johnny opened up at Cobra Kai, and he's just like, "What are you doing, man?" He's like, "No, I'm gonna make it
And
different."
they found out Kreese.
And
was
they,
there.
and he's just like, but you're a pastor, man. Shouldn't we be giving people second chances? And he's like, all right. And then they ended up getting into a bar fight with some assholes there. It is the original Cobra Kai team fighting, dude.
And they kicked their ass.
They
man.
kicked their ass. I love it. Johnny just goes right over to the guy. He had that piercing, that big piercing in the ear, and he just rips it out of the dude's head. And he just, dude, that scene was so cool. But the sad part of that whole episode was when that character, what was his name, Mike? From the original?
I don't remember.
Or Tommy.
Tommy.
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
Tommy.
Tommy.
Body bag.
And so they ended up that night just camping out by the lake. And the next morning, Johnny wakes up to his friends just like, Tommy, wake up. And he had passed away. And you see the ambulance coming. And then it ended. The last shot of that episode was like looking down on top of Tommy, and you see the body bag get zipped up. And it was just like, whoa, that was
such a great choice.
Oh
Dude,
my
great
God.
throwback, man. Again,
That
great
was-
writing.
That
Great
was
writing.
so fucking meaningful.
And the last words he said to Johnny was somewhere on the line like, you can do it. You can be a better man because you're the champion.
Yeah, you're the champ. Because he's talking about, it was like the year before Daniel beat him with the flying crane kick to the face.
Yeah,
he was the
one,
champ.
yeah.
And that's what he's choosing to remember Johnny by when he's talking to him. He's like, you are the champ. You know? Because we forget about that. We only saw it through Daniel's
His life,
point of
he
view.
was the man before Daniel came.
Yeah. So, that we're about...
We get into episode 7 now, and it starts off when Kreese is getting bolder now. Johnny's still gone, and he shows up at the dojo, and he threatens
Classic villain
Daniel.
80s.
Yeah.
Threatens Daniel, which puts Daniel on edge.
Yeah.
Which this again starts extending the marital issues because he sacrifices more of his job after that threat, and it basically blows an appointment at the job to train the kids more for their own safety.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's heating up, dude.
Dude, it is. And also love it how Kreese says we, you
Yeah.
know, so he's making Daniel believe that Johnny's just as much involved in this by saying, we did this and you're not going to beat our team, our squad. It was good, man.
And again, we get a parallel of the two different styles. So on Daniel's side in the Miyagi-Do, first he has them training out in the extreme heat, and then they complain about that. So then he goes and has them training like a freezer. And then on the other end with Cobra Kai, you have them doing the creek capture the headbang.
Oh yeah, and that's when Miguel
that
finds
was
out.
fun.
That's when Miguel finds out that Hawk destroyed Miyagi-Do because he's wearing Miyagi's Medal of Honor underneath the shirt, and he sees
he's
it from a
bragging
distance.
about it.
Yeah, and he's
remember
like,
he Hawk showed it to somebody, right?
Yeah, and that's it. And Miguel saw it, and so Miguel had that big face-off against Hawk where he got pissed on. He beat the shit out of him, and he took the fucking medal, and then he got defeated by how we not talking
Stingray.
about Stingray yet?
I was just thinking that. I was like, how are we not talking about Stingray?
It's
the
so-
best part
he
of this
beat-
new edition.
This was the first appearance of Stingray.
And it's funny
No.
because
No, he was there before, but Stingray.
Oh,
Yeah.
Stingray.
was
Yeah,
born
The
here.
character.
Yeah, you're right.
This is the guy who worked at the
Home Depot
department
or
store,
Lowe's?
the Home Depot, and he's kind of like more around our age, maybe a little bit
I
older.
think they said he was 30.
Yeah, he was. I mean, because we're in our 30s, and he kind of represents us because we grew up with Karate Kid, and he's just kind of into it, and he really does represent us. You know, I love. He's like, man, I always want to take karate, but my mom said no, and he's like living in his mom's basement, and he's just like hung up on the 80s. He just loves it.
That
It's
part
so
does
funny.
not represent us.
No, nope. But yeah, it was just really fun to see that guy. But yeah, Miguel takes out Hawk and he grabs the Medal of Honor back.
Which is good there because Johnny witnesses the way he takes out Hawk.
Yeah.
And he starts seeing that mean streak from Miguel, which he saw at the end of the competition.
Yeah, and I forget how that ended off that scene because I thought that's when Miguel was gonna be like, I took this dude, he had the Medal of Honor, but he didn't.
no,
he didn't
to
tell
Robbie?
that to
He didn't give it
he
to
didn't
Robbie?
say anything. The next two things that happened was first Johnny talks to him about that,
Yeah.
and starts teaching him that they don't have to be merciless.
Yeah,
That sometimes
the
it's
honor
okay to
thing.
show mercy, have honor. And then Daniel takes that talk. I mean, Miguel takes that talk, and he goes to Daniel's house, to the LaRusso's house.
Yeah.
Gives the medal to Robbie, which Robbie never tells Sam or anyone
He's
else.
like, I just want you to know that we're
Sandbagging son
Yeah.
of a bitch.
He's just like, I just want you to know that we're not all assholes, and this wasn't right, and he gave it back to him, and it was kind of like a redeeming part. But then Robbie has to be a dick about it and just not tell Sam, and he leaves it in the middle of the yard at Miyagi-Do until some Dimitri finds it. He's like, oh my god, I found it! It's the Medal of Honor,
Yeah.
And that was the last straw for Johnny between his conversation with his old Cobra Kais and having to convince them to give another chance. He comes back and he witnesses this.
Yeah.
So at the end of that episode, he kicks Kreese out of
Yeah.
Cobra Kai.
But we knew that wasn't going to be the last we heard of him. Yeah. So where do we go to now? We should start wrapping this up.
Yeah, well, now we're around 8, and this is... we get little things like Johnny has his Carmen music video dream. This is
Oh,
when
that was so funny,
Dude,
man.
he thinks in a music video that's perfectly edited
Yeah.
and everything. It was hilarious.
Because they
though.
start to introduce that Johnny's into Miguel's mom, and
yeah.
she's on a bunch of bad dates with bad guys. And also, when Johnny was at the bar, he saw Elizabeth Shue on Facebook,
Allie.
and he decides to message her, and he's just like, "Hey, what's up? Long time." I
And
forget
he's
what
about
else.
to.
Yeah, he's
remember,
like, "We
he's
should
about
catch
to
up."
send it, and then the girl shoulder bumps him.
Yeah,
remember?
because it's so funny. Because before that,
Yeah.
they were trying to set him up on Tinder, and he's just like, "I don't get this." He's like, "What would you usually do?" I used to go into a bar and bump into a girl, not too hard, but hard enough to get her to notice me, and then I buy her a drink, and then that a girl did that to Johnny, and it caused him to press send on the messenger, and so that they put that out there in the universe. So now he has officially made contact with Elizabeth Shue's Allie.
Because it looks like he was right about to erase it.
Yeah, it looks like he was about to cancel out, but the girl bumped into him, and it
Yeah.
caused him to send it.
Which is
And
good
then-
because this is his type of girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he ends up leaving her because he sees Carmen's Miguel's mom boyfriend there, basically talking about how he's just
Making
gonna
out.
hit and
Yeah.
leave.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and he's checking out other chicks too
Yeah.
while he's there, and he confronts him out in the alley, and he just beats him up, but he shows him mercy. He's just like, "Get the fuck out of here, and never talk to her again,"
Yeah, and then the only other big thing that happened in that episode was the 80s team skate park. And here is we see a little bit of Psycho Tori.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Here,
that's fun.
and the love triangle kind
Yeah.
of starts looming.
they had the
here.
'80s night at the roller rink.
So then, like, Robbie went with Sam on a date.
Yeah.
And then Tori works there, and she invited Miguel to go as her date.
Yeah.
So then that led to a little bit of that triangle happening.
More love triangle drama.
And then they finally had a good conversation between Miguel and Sam. We
Yeah.
finally saw their characters kind of interacting since then, and him being able to kind of apologize.
Which Tori saw and set a trap for her, where she just, hit her big
Shoulder checked her.
hard enough where it's like, okay, no one's gonna notice, but she's gonna feel
Yeah.
it. So then when Sam responds, everyone catches that, including Miguel, and they get tossed.
Yeah.
Boy.
Tori was a good one. She was a good character this
Yeah.
season. Great addition.
Yeah,
Oh,
she,
yeah,
she
she was-
gave her the smile after, the creepy
Yeah.
like psycho smile. Like,
Yeah,
I got you.
she was total psycho. But this also ended up with Johnny finally asking Miguel's mom out on a date. That episode ended like that. right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. When he got back to the house, and she accepted, which brings us into the next episode where two things are happening. So the kids are all at a house party, and this is Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do at a house party.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, we have the double date between Carmen and Johnny and the
Daniel
LaRussos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was funny just to
That was
see.
great.
Like they ended up pushing their tables together, even though his karate team just trashed his dojo and whatnot. But
But it's like the wives weren't having it though.
Yeah.
for the first the
conflict,
the females were
Yeah,
the
they
ones
weren't
that were
having-
kind of like no, let's make them let's be fun and have fun with
let's
each
just
other.
put the tables together. Yeah, let's put
Yeah.
the tables
You
together.
guys just gonna compare sizes all day?
Yeah.
And then this is you kind of see Danny actually just look at Johnny and realize he's trying to change because he found out that he got rid of Kreese and he's just like, that stuff that happened in your dojo wasn't me. I don't know who did it. I'm trying to figure out who did it in my crew or whatnot.
It was a real redemption moment.
Yeah,
for
a
him.
real redemption moment. And then you see them all have drinks and they're all dancing and having fun. And then they just leave. And as soon as they leave, they shake hands and be like, that shit ain't going to last long. Something fucked up's going to happen.
Yeah, he told me, he was like, I promise we're gonna do better, and then that's where
And
that
then
ended.
one episode later, it did not.
Yeah, because that episode ended up with Sam getting really drunk at that party with Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, and she kind of takes out Tori. She beats her in a drinking game, but she gets really drunk. She ends up kissing Miguel.
yeah.
She ends up kissing Miguel in
And
the
Tori
backyard.
sees it.
Tori sees it, and that flip, the fucking crazy bitch flip switch.
Yep.
She was just like, "Wow," And so, but anyway, Sam gets really drunk, and Robbie
Robbie
ends up
takes her.
instead of bringing her home to her parents because she was afraid her parents were going to get pissed, he brings her to his dad's house.
And this is where I feel bad for the character of Robbie because he was trying to cut her off. She kept going, and then he was gonna bring her to the house to her parents, and
Yeah.
she
She
convinced
said
them
no.
otherwise.
Yeah.
So it was like she put him in this position.
And then he gets kicked out.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole thing. It's all Sam's fault.
Yeah, and,
Moral of the story.
she passes out at Johnny's, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh shit!" He's like, "We have to tell. I'm gonna tell Daniel. This is his daughter. He has
Yeah.
to know." And then Daniel and they wake up the next morning, and they can't find her, and so they're tracking her GPS through the phone, and it leads him right to Johnny's apartment. He's banging on the door. He's like, "What the fuck? Is my daughter here?" He's like, "Yes, but just calm down, relax. Before you come in, I want you to calm down." He's like, "No." But this is where I feel like Danny should have just calmed down a little bit. I could see why he was so pissed off,
Yeah.
but Johnny didn't try to lie. He's like, "Yes, she's here, but before you come in, I want you to calm down." And Daniel's like, "No," and he just kicks down the door. It's like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah, and then they have that big thing, and she comes out while they're fighting. He throws him into the fucking TV, dude. That was crazy.
That was rad. That was a cool fight, man.
Yeah, that was because you finally see them actually. I think this is the first time they actually fought.
Yeah.
because they always
Yeah.
come close to it.
Yeah,
And they
there's-
don't. This
yeah.
time we actually saw it, and I was like, oh, shit. All right. Finale for second season.
And Robbie takes all the blame. So LaRusso takes Sam with him. Basically, Robbie gets kicked out of the house, so he stays with Johnny. And then we skip straight. I don't know how much time afterwards. It wasn't too much after, but it might have been
a day or two later.
Yeah.
It's like now it's like the first day of school.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So then you see Johnny arriving with Robbie. So you see a little bit of that bonding.
It's also
Wait,
funny how he didn't even have like school supplies. Remember, it was just like I don't remember what.
And
he had.
oh no, I love it because it's like I don't know what to get you, so I got you some paper and pencils. Do you guys still use Trapper Keepers? And he's like, what's the Trapper Keeper? Mine had a fighter jet. It was awesome. I was just laughing so hard.
And like everything is cool and normal during classes, and then during the morning announcements, you hear Psycho Tori just
Yeah.
pushes the woman aside, and she basically says like, "Sam, I'm coming for you."
Yeah.
How
and so
cool is
everybody
that?
runs out of the classrooms. It's like the classic school fight. And she runs into the middle of the hallway and she sees Robbie there and she's like, you kissed Miguel at the party. And Robbie's like, what the fuck? And then all hell breaks loose. The biggest brawl I've ever seen in high school happened. It was like, dude, it was so crazy how big that brawl was because it was all the Cobra Kai like, fuck yeah, fight.
Yeah,
and they're
Hawk.
fighting all the Miyagi-Do and it's just in different wings of the school.
And with that brawl, man, they did this dope one take that went so long,
Yeah.
and it's so well choreographed, so well directed. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a bang up job.
Because
man.
Hawk is now looking for Dimitri to get his
Yeah.
payback, and he finally hunts down Dimitri, and Dimitri finally uses all the lessons that Daniel taught him, and he's able to block all of Hawk's punches, and then he kicks him into the trophy case. And, that was it was cool to see Dimitri kind of just get up to that level.
It was. I mean, I didn't believe it.
No,
but
I didn't
it was
believe
cool
it,
to
but
watch.
it made sense for his character to get that moment. But yeah, they show the fight is getting so big that some other kids are trying to get teachers, and the teachers walk in and see how big the fight is. It's like, yeah, they don't pay me enough for this, and so basically it's just waiting for the police. Oh, and Stingray is getting a job interview to be a security officer at the school.
Oh yeah, that's what it was.
It was funny because like the teacher steps out and he's about to do something, but then he sees Hawk destroy another teacher.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't get paid."
Dude,
for that.
and then when Stingray walks out, man, you see him just like hip bumping kids into walls and stuff. Like, it was so
and
funny.
then he high fives Hawk. It's like,
Yeah.
wait, you're not supposed to do that.
No.
But anyway, the fighting was really epic. You guys got to watch it to see it. But it ends on basically what the season finale was. Robbie and Miguel are doing their final fight, and they're on the top of the stairs at the school. And Miguel finally gets the upper hand on Johnny, and he's standing over him. And that's when he realizes that he's at that moment where he can either take him out or show mercy. And he finally learned to show mercy, and he just showed him mercy. It's like, I'm sorry, you know? And then that's when Robbie, he's so pissed. He just kicks him so hard it sends him flying down this staircase. He's falling backwards in slow motion. We're like, what the fuck? And you see him in slow motion. His back is about to hit the railing, and he hits it. And that's like, you could hear a pin drop in the whole school because he's like out cold. It looks like he really injured his back.
His leg is like facing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Family Guy style.
It was really bad, and ended up being this big whole hospital thing, you know, like, 'cause Sam's there, she's getting stitched up, and she's like, I feel so bad for Miguel, and Miguel's like getting surgery, and the mom is just like to Johnny, I never want to see you again. He's like, I understand.
Dude, at the beginning of the season, did you ever think the show was gonna go this direction?
No,
for season
man.
3?
I didn't think
Like,
it was going to go that
jeez.
dark. And like I felt bad for Robbie's character because he got involved in that fight, breaking up the fight, and
Yeah.
Miguel attacked him first.
Yeah.
To break up the fight. So then when he realizes what he's doing, he ran.
Yeah.
So now like we spent since last season to this season him getting his life back together, and then now he's all alone again, like out on the run.
Yeah, it ended
Banished,
with,
basically.
it ended with Miguel in pretty much critical condition. Well, like, he was unconscious in the hospital.
He could have died.
Yeah, he could have died. I mean, that could kill somebody.
Yeah.
And the sad part about it is at that moment, because right at the start of the school day, when he's dropping off Robbie, Miguel calls Johnny, but because he's with Robbie, he ignores the call.
Yeah.
So here at the hospital, Johnny finally listens to the message, and it was just Miguel asking for advice because Johnny's been like his father.
Yeah.
And he never picked up the phone.
And he goes, yeah, my mom's busy tonight, so maybe we can go get some cheeseburgers at that place you like. I just need some help with some love advice, and, you know, you're the guy to look to for that, you know? It's just like, you could just see Johnny
He
just
breaks
feels-
down.
Yeah, he breaks down. He goes to the beach, and he's just pissed off. He's drinking. He's like giving up on everything. No, because before that, he tries to go back to Cobra Kai.
Yes, he goes
Yeah.
back to
And
Cobra
it's
Kai.
night.
yeah.
It's nighttime, and the door. He's getting his keys ready, but the door's unlocked.
It's already open.
And he's walking back, and he hears like people training in the back room. And he opens up the door, and Kreese is there with Cobra Kai. And he did what I thought I called last season what he was going to do when they introduced Kreese. I'm like, he basically talked to the owner of the building, and he made a better deal than Johnny was able to do because he didn't sign a contract. It was all a handshake. That's what Johnny did. That's how Johnny was dealing with stuff. So Kreese made a better deal, and now he gets the Cobra Kai dojo. And Johnny's just like, he's just looking at all the kids. It's just like, I didn't want this, but you know, whatever. And he just gives up and he leaves.
Because before that, as he steps towards Creed, these kids that he trained, Hawk and all of them, they get ready to fight him.
Yeah, and he doesn't want that. He's just like, fine. He goes, I'm defeated, whatever. And he leaves, and he goes out to the beach, and he's drinking, and he hears his phone go off. He doesn't even look at it. He just takes it, and he just
Checks
throws
it.
it into the sand, and he throws the alcohol in the car and the keys, and he just like leaves. And then the camera slowly zooms up, and it shows that Allie, Elizabeth Shue, had accepted his friend request. And I think it...
No, she replied to the message and then she sent out a friend request.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's basically where the whole season left off.
Well, that and also because now he lost his girl, he lost his dojo, and he leaves the car there. But then on the other end, Daniel lost his karate because pretty much his
wife
his
said no
wife
more.
demanded no more after seeing what happened to Sam.
Yeah.
No karate at all, no
Yeah.
dojo, no nothing.
Yeah.
No more karate. So it kind of ended on like Infinity War level drama.
How,
You know what
like
I
this
mean?
whole week in general has been very emotional. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Between Cobra Kai, Avengers, and now Game of Thrones tonight. Like,
Speaking of which, we got to start getting ready for
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. But anyway, that wraps up our season 2 of Cobra Kai review. We really love this season. We hope you guys go check it out. Are there any final thoughts you guys want to get out before we get out of here?
No, I think we covered everything, and
You guys want to do quick
I
predictions?
just can't wait for the next season. And what we could do is before the next season preview, we can release a preview episode.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Perfect.
All right, guys. If you guys are listening to us on Spotify or SoundCloud, don't forget to go over to our YouTube channel at Too High McFly Productions. Check out our short films, our movie reviews, and other content. And you can reach out to us on Twitter at Too High McFly Productions and also on Instagram. My name is Kevin Lyons,
I am Jose Ramos.
Daniel de Sangre.
and we'll see you guys next time.